Crazy. And when did you go? So you got out of the Air Force in '64. When did you go in?
1939.
39. Was shit hitting the fan at the time? Did you think?
No.
Did you go in on your own or did you get
Yeah,
drafted?
no, I went in on my own. I'll tell you what happened. My father at that time, his full-time job was driving a bus from Hartford to Springfield, Mass.
Like a Greyhound bus?
Well, more like a school bus with the long nose on it. Of course, that was state of the art then.
Yeah.
And every Saturday, he used to give us three boys 10 cents each.
This is you,
Eddie.
Robert, and Eddie.
Yeah. Yeah. Robert got killed
Eddie is younger or older than you?
younger, 2 years younger.
So he's 92 and 93 and three quarters.
Yeah. No, he's lost it. He's gone.
It's fine. I just plugged it in. So, and was Robert younger or older than you?
I I really don't know. I don't know.
Who was the oldest?
I don't know that either. I don't know. Neither one of them ever called me or write to me or nothing.
Well, you're Robert.
Yeah.
Well, how old was he when he passed? Do you remember? He was like 21 or something, right?
When?
When Robert died, he was like 21, or was he older than that?
Well, I don't know. We never. Your mother was trying to find out his birthday.
Yeah, I remember.
So I don't know. She never could find out his birthday.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to my brother again.
She's tried to get him to go to the cemetery.
Yeah, it's a long ways away from him. Less than a mile. Yeah. And the last time I talked to him, I asked him if he, had sent that information to Barbara, what was on the headstone. He said, no. He says, I've got to go there one of these days.
What cemetery is it at? Do you know?
It's the, it would be the East Hartford Cemetery, the town cemetery, I guess.
In East Hartford.
Huh?
In East Hartford.
I guess it would be there.
Hmm.
Of course, when I lived there, I wasn't concerned about cemeteries, and then I was invincible at that age.
Yeah, exactly. So at 39, you joined on your own.
Yeah.
So your dad was driving a bus. You were telling me that story. So your dad was
Yeah.
driving a bus.
And he give us 10 cents each to go to the movies. He gave me a nickel to buy a big, you could get a big sack of peanuts, you know, the kind with shells on them,
Yeah.
for a nickel. And so I had this little girl, Nettie was her name, that I thought was a beauty. I wanted to take her to the movies. So I asked my father for another dime, please.
Yeah.
He said, if you're old enough to take a girl to the movies, you're old enough to make your own dimes. Of course, I turned him into child abuse right away. There was nothing like that back in them days.
No.
Yeah, back in them days, if I'd called the sheriff or something to say something like that to him, you know, like, my father beat me. He pounded my ass till it was red. The sheriff says, well, I'll give you some more if you didn't understand what he was telling you.
Exactly. Boy.
Anyway, he wouldn't give me another dime, so when I wanted to get a dime to take Nettie to the, you know, movies and be with her. So now I left. We lived in East Hartford. The Windsor Locks was across the river. That was a big town. So we left the movies and come back, and there was a sign out in front. Uncle Sam says, I want you. So I said, So I went in there and I said, this guy, he was a sergeant. I know now he was a sergeant, but I didn't know then
Yeah.
what he was. And I said, what do you got to do to get in the Army? And he says, well, you just got to talk to me. And then he says, and you got to be 18 years old. And I said, well, I'm 18. And he looked at me up and down. He says, I don't think so. I said, I am honest. I wasn't.
You weren't?
No.
How old were you?
17.
Oh, okay. But you were close.
About 17 and a half, I guess. So he told me, he says, you go home and get your daddy and bring him back over here with you. And if he says you can join the Army, I'll sign you up. I figured, boy, the old man will like that. He'd get rid of one mouth to feed.
Yeah.
And get rid of an extra dime. He won't have to give
Yeah.
every once in a while. So I went home and told the old man that I was going to join the Army. He said, good. I said, just got one problem. I said, that guy over there in charge, he don't believe I'm old enough to get in the Army. And my father says, you're not. So I said, well, he told me that if I brought you back and you said it was all right, he would take me in. So my father, he said, okay, let's go. So we went out and walked back across the river again, about a mile away, over to Windsor Locks. Went in there. And my father told that recruiting sergeant that I was about 5 months shy of being 18. And the sergeant said, well, if you can pass the physical, and you say he's all right, he says, we'll put him in uniform. So I went, seen the doctor, had a physical. I passed the test that sergeant gave me right there. And then the next thing I know, I was on a bus to Fort Monroe, Virginia.
Fort Monroe?
Yep. Cavalry,
Calvary.
mechanized.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was just when the tanks were taking the place of horses.
Yeah.
That ain't where I wanted to be.
No, I would think not.
No.
Now, at this point, do you have any idea what's going on in Europe or anything? Has Hitler invaded yet, or no?
No, but it was getting, Pearl Harbor hadn't started yet.
No, it was 39. So,
Yeah.
but Hitler invaded Poland or whatever.
Yeah,
in
no,
19
but we were cranking up military-wise.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in the Air Force, Air Corps at that time.
Yeah.
And that recruiting sergeant told me that I could transfer once I got to where I was going initially, and then I could transfer. Then I found out he lied.
Oh, really?
Hell no, they were looking for cannon fodder.
Yeah.
They wanted bright, stupid young men.
Yeah. Bright, stupid young man.
Well, I mean bright, had their eyes open.
Yeah.
That kind of bright. So anyway, I went through boot camp, and we went on maneuvers up in Plattsburgh, New York. And you think the cavalry tank corps just ride in the tank? Some do. And then there's other ones that walk.
And you were a walker.
I was a walker. And then we had a teammate, a partner. I had half of a tent, and he had the other half, a pup tent. Well, when we got to where we were going to bivouac, we put them together and we shared that tent. About the third day we were there, boy, there was a hell of a thunderstorm. Lightning, thunder, rain. The goddamn tent leaked. Art Fournier, I think his name. He said, I'm going outside and see if everybody else is as fucking miserable as we are. So he's gone for a while. And I'm beginning to wonder, what happened to him? He get lost or what? And pretty soon it's daylight and still no Art. So I get my metal breakfast plate, you know, the aluminum plate they give you with a cover on it,
Yeah.
in a tin cup. and I head for the chow line. The rain had stopped, and the lightning and thunderstorm had gone. But I hear that, the guys are talking. There was 4 or 5 standing under a big tree, and lightning hit the tree, and a couple of them got killed, and the other ones got burned real bad from the lightning. Well, old Art was one of the ones that got burned, got hurt real bad.
Oh, wow.
And that's why he didn't come back to our quarters.
Oh, my Lord. He
Yeah.
got hit by well, the tree got hit by lightning.
Yeah.
He was close by.
Yeah, and you seen it goes along the ground looking for its next ground,
Yeah.
So then, anyway, we finished maneuvers.
So what happened to him, do you know?
Yeah, he came back.
Oh, he made it back?
Yeah, after about 4 or 5 months. Yeah,
Wow.
he made it back. And they sent him up to Walter Reed, was at that time wasn't too far away from where we were. And so anyway, and then when we had the bulletin board, we were supposed to check it every day. So I checked it this one day, and there was a notice on there. Anybody desiring a transfer to the Air Corps, see the first sergeant.
That's all it said? Or did it say if you had
Yeah, experience.
Oh, with what?
Any airplanes.
Oh, experience with airplanes?
Yeah. So anyway, there was a young guy. See, we lived on well, it was a farm, but small place that my father worked part-time, There was a guy that, Wadsworth was his name. On the next place, and he had a Piper Cub. And I used to help him push it in and out of the barn.
So that was your vast experience with an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. So I went and I told the first sergeant that I worked for a little bit for Chapman's Flying Service. And I said, I know a little bit about airplanes. That's got a motor and wings and a tail and a place to sit.
Yeah.
I know about it. So they send me over to Langley Field in Virginia. About 10 miles away, I guess. So the first shirt, he looks at my transfer.
How long are you in for at this point?
3 years, I think.
So was this after Pearl Harbor?
No, before.
Okay.
Yeah, no, way before.
So were you 3 years or 3 months?
Huh?
How long were you in the Army at this point? 3 months?
No, almost a year.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Obviously, by now, bad shit's happening in Europe.
Yeah, so anyway. I'm over there in the first shirt. He tells me to go out and report to Sergeant Cosciero out on the flight line. So I go out there, and I asked somebody, where's Sergeant Cosciero? He said, there he is there. And I look over there, and there's the goddamn guy. I thought it was a stump. He's a big son of a bitch, Italian. So I go over there, and I tell him, I said, Sergeant, I said, gave him my name, and I said, I said, I just transferred over from the cavalry, and to report to you. And he says, he looks me up and down. He said, don't tell me you're a pussy. Of course, you know, back in them days, I didn't know what a pussy was. You know, and I said, what are you talking about? He said, you couldn't take it.
Oh. Oh, the originals.
Them were about 1940, 41.
Is that the raining tent day?
Huh? No, this was taken in Italy, and that little dog there,
It's a monkey, George.
his name was Ashpet. Little puppy. And Ashpet in Italian meant wait, because I could tell when he had a pee or poop, and I'd say Ashpet, Ashpet, because he was Italian. That meant wait, and I'll get him outside.
George, look at that. That's the one with the monkey. The other one is the one
Yeah.
with the monkey.
Yeah,
Yeah. You get your parachute and stuff on that one.
yeah,
But,
yeah. This was taken. This was after Pearl Harbor. That's when I was aircraft mechanic on flying status. And I had to get 3 hours every month to qualify. So I was going to go get my 3 hours.
Mm.
That's a dog, ain't it? It ain't a monkey. But I had a monkey too for a while. But that little dog there, he was with us for all the way up through Italy until they made the invasion of Anzio, and then I couldn't get him to get him up to Anzio.
So you reported to that Italian guy?
Yeah, Lucio Ticociro.
Lucio? That was his name?
Yeah. So his briefing to me was, he says, you've got experience, huh? And I said, well, not really. I said, I figured I better level with this guy because I could tell he would know I was bullshitting.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you're right. I said, when we were on maneuvers and those 3 guys got killed, and I said, I decided then and there that sleeping on the ground in a thunderstorm wasn't for me. And I said, that's when I had requested a transfer over here. And I said, I'm here. He said, okay, I'll tell you the way it goes. I'm the boss. What I tell you goes. And he says, if you do what I say, when I say it, you'll be all right. And if you don't, he says, I'll kick your ass till it's black and blue. And he says, and then you'll be on the bus back there again.
So I'm sure you were highly motivated to listen to whatever he
You
said.
betcha. So we go along, and then old Lou, he turned out to be a good friend after a while. But he would tell me what to do. And I think the big test came one day, because back then in peacetime, we had Wednesday afternoons off, Friday afternoon off, and just Saturday and Sunday, and the only people working were the ones that had to be working, like the cooks and things, but then they used to rotate so they'd get their extra days off too.
Yeah.
And so one Friday or Wednesday, right after chow, I'm changing out of my coveralls and getting into my Class A's. And who comes walking into the barracks? But my good friend Lou. And he says, how come you're all dressed up? And I said, I'm going to town. He says, how come? I said, how come? He said, yeah, how come? I said, everybody's got Wednesday afternoons off, Friday afternoons, and holidays and Saturdays and Sundays. He said, oh. He said, you neglected to say my name. Well, I said, well, you're standing right here. He said, I know. And he says, you ain't going to town. I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't understand English? He says, I'll give you 15 minutes to get out of them and get into your coveralls and meet me at the flight line. 15 minutes. He said, not 16, 15. So get cracking. He turned around and walked off. And I remembered the kick in the ass bit, and I found out later that he was a real ass kicker.
Yeah. So you hauled ass, I'm imagining.
I hauled ass and was out there. And I said, what are we going to do, sir? He said, you don't sir me. He says, I'm a sergeant. You call me sergeant. I said, yes, sir, sergeant. He says, you see these 3 airplanes here? I said, yes. He said, we're going to wash them, make them nice and shiny and clean. There's going to be no oil streaks on them. Nothing. So I looked at them airplanes, I looked at him, and then I said, okay.
Start washing.
Yeah. So anyway, then after a while we got transferred up to Mitchell Field, Long Island, New York. And that's where I just happened one time to bump into your mother.
No.
Huh?
My mother.
Well, yeah. It was, yeah,
Grammy or my mom?
Grammy.
Oh, Grammy. Grandma.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway,
You just happened to bump into her there.
yeah. And, and she was a nice lady, so, we got along good. And
Did you ever take the Nellie one or Nettie or whatever? Did you ever take her to the movie?
well, yeah, wait, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, anyway, Grammy and I got married, and pretty soon she tells me she's going to have a baby.
Oops.
So I figure, a baby?
Yeah.
What kind of a baby? I knew all about birds and bees, but I didn't know about human babies.
Yeah.
So anyway, she had the baby, and we got a room in some sleazebag hotel down there in Hampstead, Long Island. And I guess then the war was declared, and Barbara was born.
Yeah, Mom was born, came out of the hospital on Pearl Harbor Day.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she was born on the 27th of November
Yeah,
and came out of the hospital on December 7th.
December 7th, yeah. And see, there's another story. And I had this, by that time I was a crew chief, and I had another guy working for me. You know, helping me maintain an airplane. And Finkelstein. And he wore glasses thicker than those. And he wanted to fly in the worst way. And they wouldn't accept him because his eyesight was so bad.
Yeah.
So I told him, hey, Fink, I said, put in for glider pilot. I said, they'll take you. Because them guys, they don't give a shit if they can see or not. They're only going to fly one way anyway.
Yeah.
He did. Put in for glider pilot. Well, then, I mean, we went all up through Africa, and we were in Italy in this Goonie bird, a C-47, come and landed at our strip. It had one engine out. All they had was one more left.
Yeah.
So we go over there to meet and see what their problem was. And who the hell comes out of that airplane but old Finkelstein? He had made a couple of runs as a glider pilot.
Yeah.
And then the Goonie birds were, of course, towing the gliders. And somehow or other, he got to be a co-pilot on the Goonie bird. And that's what he was there.
Oh, wow.
And they just happened to land at our field.
God, what are the odds?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, then they were stationed in Sicily, Trapania, city in the clouds. It was the tallest mountain on Sicily. So he said, he says, you ever get any time off? And I said, time off? He said, yeah, you get up, you go to work, and when you get done work, you go to bed, and you get up and go to work. I said, yeah, we get a lot of time off. He says, what about, a couple of 3 days off? And I said, no. He said, would you like to go to Sicily with us? He said, I could show you around over there. And he says, I could get you, he was a warrant officer then. He said, I could get you, quarters in the officers' quarters. And I said, I don't think that would go over big, enlisted swine in the officers' quarters.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we don't pay too much attention to that. He says, I think it's doable. He said, what if I go talk to your CO and see what he says? Well, he went and talked to the CO, and the CO says, yeah. Because Fink told him, he said, a guarantee that he would get me back in 6 days. He'd get me back. So the CO said, okay.
Wow.
Do it. So anyway, I went over to Sicily with him, and it was kind of neat. Shit had real beds, and I was a guest in the officers' quarters.
Yeah.
Had real beds and a little bit better food.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
And then one night, they had a officers club. They had a bar in there. So we're in there drinking beer. And here comes this major, he was, sits down, and he had a young gal on his arm, and she sat down next to me. So I see teeth clicking and smiling. And of course, that pissed the old major off. An enlisted swine.
Yeah.
Making passes at my Shotzi,
Oh boy.
So old Fink, he had to come to my rescue. Tell me to cool down.
Yeah, knock it off, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got back to our base a little bit early, about 2 days early, because it seemed like that major didn't like my presence around,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was small potatoes on his part.
So you were on the main part of Italy and you flew over to Sicily?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That was after Mussolini?
Huh?
That was after Mussolini was gone?
After who?
That was after Mussolini was dead?
No, I think that was before. That was before, I think.
But it had to be pretty close if you guys were in Italy.
Yeah. Well, see, we were, then we'd made the invasion of I just said it.
Trapani or something?
I don't know, it was up the coast anyway.
Mm.
So,
City in the Clouds or whatever.
oh, that was Trapani, that was over in Sicily.
Oh, okay.
And this was still in Italy where they were jumping, it was just below Rome.
So this was pretty late in the war by then.
Well, it wasn't pretty late in the war, but it was about the middle of it, I guess.
Well, let's see when Mussolini died.
Anzio Beachhead, yeah.
Anzio Beachhead? It was Benito Mussolini, right? Yep. Il Duce was his name, right? I think. He was president until 43. He died in 45. He was ousted in 43.
Yeah, that's. The war ended in 45.
Yeah.
And
Did you ever find out what happened to Finkelstein? Did he
I never saw him again.
never saw him again after
No, no, that was just a fluky, one-time shot
that?
the way
Wow.
shit's.
Well, there was no Facebook back then, so it was a little.
No. No,
No Facebook, no
No.
cell phones.
no.
I tell Monica and Keenan, I said, when we were kids, and you had a really good friend at school, and you saw them at school, and maybe they lived too far away, so you didn't really play with them after school, but you were friends at school when you got to school,
Yeah.
right? If they moved, one day they were at school, and the next day they were gone.
And you never knew it.
You're like, hey, whatever happened to, oh, he moved or she moved. And you're like, oh, like, unless they gave you their address or whatever, you never saw them again and never knew what happened to
Well,
them.
probably the kids themselves, at that period of time and age, the parents just made the decision that they had to move for whatever reason, and they never tell the kids except the day before we're moving.
Yeah, mom and dad are moving.
Yeah.
I just need to, so I can sync the two things together. I turn it, it says it has 2 hours left or something.
Anyway, getting back to Nettie.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, after the war, me and Grammy, we moved back to East Hartford. And we go to the A&P grocery store. That's like Safeway.
Yeah.
And I see this gal coming down the aisle, and man, she could almost barely fit down the aisle. So big. And as she got closer, I recognized her. How about my girlfriend Nettie?
Oh, wow.
So I talked to her, and I find out that she's got 4 kids.
Four.
4. And she put on about 200 pounds.
Wow.
So I was kind of thankful that my father didn't have an extra dime. Because you never could have, know what would have happened. Maybe you'd have had a big fat mama for a mama.
Yeah. Wow. So you did get to see her. So did you ever take her to the movie?
No,
You never took her to the movie?
nope, didn't have a dime.
Yeah, and of course you joined the army.
And by
Thinking
the
you were gonna
time
get money, they sent you. You were gone.
I was gone.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah,
Wow.
yep.
Wow. So where were you during the war? You were in Long Island, Africa, Italy. Where else?
We're southern France, all the way up through France, all the way up to Strasbourg, Germany, then into Germany up through Frankfurt, up in the Munich. That's where the war ended up there.
And you were there?
Yeah,
Wow. So you were in Munich when the war ended?
yeah,
Oh, wow. Were you just hopping from airport to airport as you guys were getting closer? They
Yeah.
kept moving you closer and closer?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I remember Jimmy Hauer, his dad Walter, Jiggs, remember him?
yeah,
Because he was in the Battle of the Bulge,
yeah,
and he swiped a German flag off of a factory when he was there, and he got a medal off of a soldier or whatever. I don't some like German cross or something. I don't know where he got it or whatever. Michael just showed me a picture of it. But I remember when I was a kid, he showed us the German flag,
yeah,
big ass German flag, because it was on a factory, so it was huge.
yeah. Big swastika.
Oh, when it was folded, it was big.
Yeah,
I mean, if you figure it was flying on a factory, it wasn't no little dinky flag.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
big ass sucker.
yeah.
That must have been entertaining to steal a flag off of a factory.
I don't know. I never did any of that shit.
Yeah. So that must have been crazy as it was getting towards the end of the war.
Oh, it was crazy.
Just moved
The
you.
whole goddamn thing was crazy.
So did they just move you from airport to airport to airport, like hopscotch, as they were getting close
Yeah.
from southern France, and just basically
Yeah,
move you?
and sometimes it'd just be the engineers would just make a landing strip.
Oh, just like make one.
Huh?
Just make one.
Just make one.
Wow. Wow. But so you never went over to the Pacific during the war. You were always in Europe.
No, we were VJ ended, and I was sitting on a Liberty ship in New York Harbor, right just past the Statue of Liberty when they announced it, and they were going to hold up our docking because of the celebration.
This was for the end of the war in Europe. Japan, which was still going on.
Huh?
Or was this the end of the war in Japan or the war in
The
Europe?
one in Europe ended first.
Right. So,
And,
but so
and
you
that
were
was Japan.
you were back when Japan ended. You were back to New York when
Yeah.
Japan ended. So that was August-ish.
Well, actually, when the war ended in Europe, we were in Munich when it ended,
Right. Yeah, you just said yeah.
and then they were deciding what to do with us, and they decided they were going to send us to the Pacific.
Show me the way to go.
But first, we were going to go home. They were going to give us back to the States, and we were going to get 30-day furlough, and then report to Fort Dix in New Jersey, and eventually, get transferred to the South Pacific. Well, like I say, we were sitting in New York Harbor at VJ Day when the war ended. So then I knew we weren't going to go to Japan. But they wouldn't let us off the ship because they was afraid we'd get wound up in a celebration and we would miss our transport to Fort Dix, and we'd be in trouble. So they wouldn't let us off the ship. But some guys jumped off the ship. They just dove in the water and swam.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yep, swam over the shore and got into celebration with them.
Wow.
I never found out what happened to him, but it probably wasn't nice.
Yeah. And based off your experience with your
Huh?
Based off the experience with your buddy getting hit by lightning, leaving where you were wasn't such a great idea as for you as it probably was for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd have heard that the Air Corps, they slept in buildings. You didn't have to sleep on the ground. Of course, that was then at peacetime.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I found out later that they lied. We did have to sleep in tents.
They lied. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So when did you start? What was your first plane you started flying in?
That AT-6.
This one right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you find out that Robert had died?
I didn't find that out. Let's see. Where was I? He died on that was the day before the war ended, on that last atomic bomb on Nagasaki. He was on that mission there. When they get on the way back home, they just disappeared. They don't know what happened to it. So, could have been engine fire. Goddamn airplane could have blown up. They don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's probably why it's so hard for us to find any info on him even today.
Well, yeah, you know, my father, I know he bugged the shit out of everybody, and he found out, you know, how big a search area that they searched for the plane, how many airplanes were involved, how many ships were involved. He found out all that stuff, and they never found nothing. Nothing. But that Pacific Ocean,
It's big.
it's big.
Yeah.
And you got one airplane or pieces of airplane. Who knows?
Yeah. Were you close to Robert when you were kids, or were you closer
Yeah,
to Eddie?
he was my favorite. Eddie was my pain in the ass.
He must have been a pretty smart kid to get that job that he got.
He was smart. He was like you.
I mean,
Well, you know, when you were a kid.
you don't get chosen to do something like that or be in that spot if you're not like top best.
Oh no, he was really sharp. Did you ever see his picture?
Yeah, I took a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that your dad painted and then stopped painting because your mom moved it to vacuum.
Move the easel.
And tried to put it back in the same spot, and he busted it.
No, I'll tell you, when my father was painting, that was capital punishment if you touch that easel. If you move that sucker an inch, he knew it. Because the light was different.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, everybody sees the picture and they think because the badge is missing that's the actual badge, and I'm like, no, he never finished it,
That's right.
and he was really close.
Yeah. No. Well, he wouldn't finish it because what he had done, and then after the light changed, he mixed his own paints. Then if it was just a little bit different,
Yeah,
you know, he would know it. maybe you wouldn't know it or I wouldn't know it, just looking at the picture. And he wouldn't finish it.
Crazy.
Yeah. Sensitive artists.
Something we don't know much about.
That's true. I can't even draw a straight line.
I can't even draw a stick figure to play hangman.
No.
It's funny, both of us who can't draw for shit. I don't think Ernie can either.
Huh?
I don't think Ernie can draw either.
No. No. No, that gene we missed somewhere along the line.
It definitely didn't get
Yeah.
passed down. I don't think mom can either. I don't have any memory of my mom even drawing anything or anything like that.
No, I don't think she was very artistically inclined. I do know that she knew colors and she knew what colors went with because, especially clothes. We had a few go-arounds about clothes too. Style.
Yeah.
Or Dad, that doesn't go with that. Just put it on.
Funny. Boy, so it's 3:00. There you go. You ready? Smile. Good one. Well, that's pretty good. Figure it was easier to do that than write like
Huh?
I said I figured it was easier to do that than write like Mom wanted you to write. Remember Mom wanted you to write stuff down? Nobody can read your handwriting anyway, so
That's right. Yeah.
I figured it was easier to take a video of it and just record it.
Yeah, I write things on the grocery list. I hear a bunch of blah, 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 damn it. And try to find out what's upset or not.
You send me a card or whatever, and it takes a translator. I need to hire a translator to come and read the handwriting. Oh, I see how it used to go.
Yeah, this is George Herrick. I'd like to make reservations for dinner tonight, 5:30. My phone. Thank you. Bye.
If you're calling that casino, you don't have to make reservations, George. You do at Steelhead Lodge, but you don't have to.
Now you tell me.
That's all right. They're gonna get it and go, crazy old fucker. Hang on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you tell KG they renewed your driver's license for 3 years?
It did.
For 3 years?
Yeah.
Till
That
you're
makes it 98.
98.
I told her thank you for your optimism.
That's funny.